Well, now to a new book launched tomorrow by me, and I am delighted to launch this for the IPA. It's about the social and economic costs of Australia's most controversial Premier. The book's called The Dark Legacy of Daniel Andrews, and it argues that the former Labor leader reshaped the state through centralised power, ideological governance and policy overreach, which weakened democratic norms, blew out the debt and undermined the freedoms of Victorians. Well, if you watched my show during COVID, absolutely no arguments from me. I'm pleased to say the bloke who edited the book, the Director of Research at the Institute of Public Affairs, Morgan Begg, joins me now. I always say in politics that you might remember your enemy or your opponent, but eventually the voters move on, in part because to survive, they have to move on. And I think particularly for Victorians, there's a whole lot of PTSD associated with that period, the worst of it, particularly during COVID with Daniel Andrews. So a book like this is so important to nail his rotten legacy to his political epitaph. Is that what drove you to pull this together?
That's exactly right. I mean, as you said, the last 10 years is a period that many Victorians will want to forget, and with very good reason. But we actually do need to tell this story. Daniel Andrews accumulated a vast amount of political power and he used that to great effect, to the extent that he exercised untrammelled power through a cowed business community, a demoralised opposition, a politicised public service. And the outcome of that is Victorians are less free than they were 10 years ago, they're less prosperous than they were 10 years ago, and the state is less democratic than it was 10 years ago. We need to understand how we got here before we can get back on track. That's the only way we'll get back on track.
The political animal in me is never just tough on my opponent because I don't like their politics. I try and be as analytical as I can in looking at how, in this case, he consolidated his power, his ruthlessness. I said last night on the show that they are the most professional political operation, the Labor machine in Victoria that I have ever seen. And I don't look at it with admiration, but I do acknowledge what the centre-right side of politics is up against in this state. And even though he has departed, he's got his underling there in the Premier's job, and she runs, smiley a face, sure, but she runs the show as he runs the show. In your book, you look at everything. You look at the economics, you look at the social, you look at the cultural, you look at the democratic. What do you think is the most destructive of his legacies?
I think arguably it's the reinvention and the reorganisation of the state around the Premier office, the Premier's office. You saw in this period, so just to go back, Daniel Andrews comes into power in 2014 in an unlikely victory, and he comes to office with a great deal of political capital and a great deal of control over the Labor Party, and he uses that control quite ruthlessly, to the extent that all decision-making in that era came from the Premier's office.
And he cut the knees out of the union, he cut the heads off colleagues. I mean, it wasn't
exactly. It's the colleagues. So
his opponents he went after.
Traditional cabinet government was dismantled. The role of an independent public service was dismantled. The role even of the media, through his belligerence and his weaponisation of social media, was defanged. The extent that economic activity in this state is actually dependent on the government now because of the dramatic expansion of government spending and programs.
9 out of every 10 jobs in Victoria
exactly
are
right.
Jobs, yeah.
So the business community now, which might have been a sort of non-government check on power, they've been taken off the board as well. And so what we have now is, we call it colloquially a one-party state. That's kind of the situation that we were put in by Daniel Andrews. And this is the world that we're still living in. Yes, he's gone, but the system he's built is still there and it's still being used.
And with 16 seats to win, this will be the challenge for the Liberals because that system is in place to help Labor continually win elections under this model. Where can people get this book if they want to read it?
It's available at all good bookstores, and it was published by Connor Court Publishing, so available at their website and on Amazon and online bookstores.
Well, I'm delighted to be launching it tomorrow, but I encourage Victorians, read it and never forget.
Absolutely.
Well
Thank you.
Morgan. Well done to the IPA too.